always nice to warm up a little bit with some improvisation. One of the ways to learn how to improvise, I was asked this question not too long ago. How do you kind of develop the skill of improvisation? And there are two things I think that are important. One is to just do it. Just be bold. It does take a little boldness to just step out and say, okay, I'll give it a go. I'll try it. Everyone I've asked so far to take that step has done an amazing job. So I'm sure you can too, especially if you're already playing beautiful pieces. You'll be surprised at how much gets encoded into your fingers when you are playing pieces. It's like information is going into your hands, into your mind. When you improvise, it's almost like a way of feeding out what you've put in. So just do it. It sounds kind of obvious, but give it a go. And then the second way I'd recommend is to practice the building blocks of music. So if you practice, like I was just doing like, I was in E minor, with chords, right? D, a lot of chords, you might already know these shapes. D, C, I'll just keep going up to that B on the 7th fret. G, A minor or a variation of A minor. And then I could go to D7 and then to G. Basically, I'm just thinking about chords and like what chord can I go to next. And if you've practiced the building blocks of music, again, it's like a way of encoding information into your fingers. And your fingers will just kind of, it sounds weird, but they will just kind of know what to do. They will fit. They'll just find the right places to go. And also in combination with your ear. If you practice the building blocks of music, if you practice chords and scales and progressions and things like that, it's this kind of dance between your ear and your fingers, kind of finding different sounds. And you get better and sharper at that skill the more you try it as well. And the more you step out and just say, what happens if I try this? So anyway, I wanted to just bring that up because it does also relate to, I mean, for me, everything's related in music, right? It's very hard to completely isolate a topic without, some other subtopic. So when we're talking about things like today, sight reading and ear training and harmony, improvisation is such a flow on from those things. Like if you're practicing sight reading and ear training and harmony and analysis and practicing the building blocks of harmony, chords and things like that, you probably can't help but improvise a little bit or compose a little bit, be a bit creative with these tools, because they are the tools of creativity. They are the building blocks of all pieces that you play. So there's absolutely no harm in getting to know these things. It actually does you a lot of good to know these things. You actually save a lot of time when you work on these types of things, because if you're just trying to learn pieces and you only know the alphabet, let's say the musical alphabet, and you're quick at, like, you can see a note and you can relatively quickly find that note on the fretboard, but that's all you've kind of developed. Your reading will reach a very noticeable wall. You'll hit a ceiling and you think, like, I just can't learn any faster than this. I just can't read any faster than this. Why is it always slow? Why is it always like going back to square one? Right? I've had people saying that. It's like when I learn a new piece, it's like going back to square one again. It's this slow, laborious, agonizing process. So learning the building blocks of music, learning harmony is probably the only way to really get to the next level and break that ceiling, knock down that wall and reach a new level of reading. And if you just read the email I sent out, it's a very similar step in reading language. So I'm teaching my children right now, 5 and 4-year-old, boy and girl, to read. And it starts by learning the alphabet. You have to know the alphabet. You have to have instant recognition of the letters of the alphabet. And that is what, that's what we do with music. You've got to have instant recognition. I call it rapid recall. So here I've got this example from my sight reading books here. So I wrote some 5 volumes for sight reading. Now, it's not what's different about my books compared to a lot of sight reading books that are out there. It's not just about here's some stuff to sight read through, right? It's not about that. It's about the processes of sight reading. Like how should you be looking at music? How should you be, excuse me, I'm getting a call. Let me get out of that. Sorry about that. What are the processes? What are the, how should I be looking at music? What are the frameworks I should be using? How should I be looking at the guitar fretboard to find notes faster, like high position chords, for example? These types of things here, for example, we want to get our rapid recall good, right? It's so important. Obviously, it's important. You see a note, bang, you know what it is. So if you're slow with your rapid recall, I'll show you pretty soon when we talk about ear training. I'll show you how you can develop that through a website called Teoria. It's a free resource. I'll show you how you can develop that. But so you want to start looking at music differently. For example, you want to start looking at the motion of music. What direction is it going in? Is it moving by step? Is it static? Or is it leaping? Right? These are the only 3 ways music can move from one note to another. Do you see chordal motion? Like in the first measure of this piece here, there's it's like a little bit of a C chord there, right? Those first 3 notes. So 3 becomes 1. 3 notes, 3 individual notes become 1 chord. And this is how I'm thinking all the time. This is why I can read quickly, because I don't look at individual notes anymore. I see patterns. I see, here's a chord. There's sometimes one whole bar can be made of one chord. You might be playing 16 notes or 12 notes or something, and they're all from 1 chord. Like in Lagrima, right? Like here. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 7 notes that are made from 1 chord shape. This is how I'm reading music all the time. I'm just looking for those chord shapes. And I actually know what the chords are as well. But knowing the shape, knowing that there's just 1 shape is a very good step in the right direction. How about intervals? If you can see intervals, if you can count the intervals between notes, that can help you read and give you a deeper relationship. Because what you start to pick up on is that there tend to be certain intervals in music that occur all the time, like thirds and sixths and octaves and tenths. So can you start to find those intervals? Really helpful to find those. Whenever you're putting music onto the fretboard, you want to know 2 things. What position are you in? And I know a lot of guitarists don't do this, because I see it all the time in my teaching, right? What position are you playing in? You've got to know. Every note you play, you have to know what position it's in. Otherwise, you're a bit lost out at sea. Okay, so know the position. Remember, that's based on where the first finger is. So if you're playing, for example, if you're playing a C on the 8th fret of the first string with your second finger, you're in 7th position. It's most likely that you're going to play a B or a D, right, with finger 1 or finger 4, B with finger 1 or D with finger 4. It's very likely that that's going to happen next, because music tends to move kind of smoothly like that, and it's 1 finger per fret. So once you find your position, then you want to line up your hand, and this helps your technique too. But this is what I said, right? It's hard to isolate one topic without covering other topics. So now we're talking about technique as well. So you can get your technique sorted out by lining up your fingers 1 finger per fret. So in this example here, this is an example done by Kevin here. So he's with Lagrima. This is from Lagrima, which I was just playing earlier. He's put in these positions: 9 for the first 2 beats there, and then 7 for the next 2 beats, and then 9, and then half bar 9, yeah, and then we're going to 6. So first fingers at the 6th fret, then we're going to the 7th fret, like this, his fingertip like that, and then we're going to the 6th position, right? Now there are lots of micro shifts in there, one position, and those are actually the ones that tend to throw us off more, because when we do a big shift, we tend to be more conscious of it. When we do micro shifts, 1 or 2 frets, it's easy to overlook those, but they're equally as important. It's very important, even if it's I'm going from 6th to 7th or 7th to 6th. It's really important. I can't stress how much your playing how much your ability to learn music and read, especially in the higher positions, you'll improve so much if you just map in your positions. I highly recommend you write them down, especially in the early stages, but it gets to a point eventually you don't have to write them down all the time, because you start to get familiar. And hey, let me know if you've got questions too. I've been talking straight here for a little while. Let me know if you have any questions about sight reading. What's your number one struggle with sight reading? Do you have any questions about sight reading or learning new pieces? Let me know in the chat, please. Another thing you can do is you can use references. References are very helpful. I mean, even in language, references can be helpful. I know from, again, teaching my kids to read, very often in a little story, so they'll read these little stories made up of fairly short words. Very often the same words will recur, like the and my and things like that. And so you can use those as references. Say, you've already read that word up here, right? What was it? And they go, oh yeah, the, or my, or and we can do similar things in music too. So we can make references to past events, past notes that we've already read. And there are 2 main types of references I like to think of. One is called a pivot, which is where you've got the same note, so referencing the same note that you've already read. And then another is called a close reference, which is a note that's close by, meaning it's above or below by step. And if you can get good at identifying these 2 things, reading can become much faster. So for example, in this piece here, but this is a little saw study, we've got close notes at the start marked in red, right? That's just like a scale going up. So it's going up by step. So in a way, you don't necessarily even have to read, like say A, B, C, D, E. You play the first note A and you just go up. It's going up by step like a scale. And then we have references. So for example, this D is played again over here. Over here, the same D, and then the same D again over there. So when I actually play that, in this case, I can actually hold that D. I can actually hold with my 4th finger from here to there. Then I have to lift it to get the open B there on the 2nd string, right? So the better you get at identifying these, the easier it is. Now, if you've got notes like these with ledger lines, so ledger lines are notes that have, extra lines in addition to the stave here, the staff lines here. So that we have these ledger lines here. Sometimes, very often, people are a bit slower at reading notes with ledger lines. Now, this is an open string of the guitar, so you probably know it a bit better. So that's an A, right? So you could even backtrack and say, well, if that's A, this one is 1 step under, right? Because the note shifts down to the next space below. So if that's A, that's going down a step, which means it's G. And then this is A here, so all the way over here, that's an A over there as well. The same would apply if it were an E or an F and it was repeating and it had multiple ledger lines. It's very helpful to see where that same note recurs in different places in the piece. So, hello Herman. You must be the most faithful, consistent joining person for these live streams. It's great to see you here again. Thanks for joining. Thank you everyone else for joining. I'd love to hear from you in the chat, where you're from, and if you have any questions about sight reading or learning pieces or ear training or harmony or anything else too. Remember, every topic can be related in some way. But so let me just summarize. I've already been through quite a few things here. So you want to develop your rapid recall. You want to see a note and just instantly be able to identify wherever it is on the staff. If it's a high B or a low E or an F or A or E or whatever it is, right? Especially notes with ledger lines. And I'm going to show you something really soon. It's a very cool way for you to develop your skills at rapid recall. Then you want to look for motion. How is the music moving? Is it moving by step, like a scale? Is it moving by leap? And very often that leap will be like a chord. Is it arpeggiating a chord? Like, can you put a chord down and is what you're playing just notes of a chord being jumbled up? And then the other type of motion is static motion. The notes are repeating, right? That's the only, you can't have any other type of motion. There's only 3 types of motion in music. It either moves by step or leap or it's static. Can you look for recurring intervals, which is an interval is the distance from one note to another. The more you do this, now this is probably the more time consuming one because you actually have to count notes, right? You have to count like C to B is a second, right? B to C, B, C is a second. G to B, I always like to start from the bottom, so G, A, B, right? G to B is a third. G to C, G, A, B, C, G to C is a fourth. So the faster you can get at counting those intervals, eventually it becomes like rapid recall, but with intervals. You just see 2 notes and you say, that's a fourth. Well, you see 2 notes, that's a seventh, that's a sixth, that's a fifth. You just know because you've done it so many times. It gives you a whole different, deeper relationship with music and reading music. Then you want to, when it comes to putting the music on the guitar, you want to know at all times what position you're in and what fingerings are you using. Now the fingerings won't always be there. Obviously the positions, very rarely in guitar music do we get positions at all times. But I do recommend you write it into the score. What position are you playing in? And as a result of that position, that will help you determine the fingerings. Very often the fingerings are they are dictated by the position you're in. So very important to know what position you're in and the fingerings that you'll be using. And then another one is references. So are notes close to each other or are notes the same as each other? It's kind of like looking at the motion again. And we're using those references to help us read. So we're looking for like pattern recognition. We're looking for patterns rather than just reading notes individually. The next one, when it comes to reading, this is also a big one, rhythm. How can we get better, faster at reading rhythm? This, I think, can be a huge shift for you if you struggle with reading rhythm. Oh, we've got a few people here in the chat. Hello, Stephen again. I remember you from last time. Thanks for joining. Herman, you think the G... okay, yeah, there might be a typo in the source study. Thanks. And we've got someone from Birmingham, UK. Oh, UK, Manchester, England. I don't know what it is, but I feel like there's a strong desire in the UK to, for this kind of thing, like composing and theory and harmony. And I've just got so many people from the UK who part of the creative classical guitarists. There's a great group, there's a great bunch there from the UK, and they're starting to meet up in person. And we had Craig. You probably know Craig Ogden if you're in the UK. Craig Ogden played a couple of pieces by Paula Child, who's a member of the creative classical guitarist, and she started composing just a few years ago, and he's played a couple of her pieces, and it's just been amazing. There's a great culture in the UK. It's good things are happening. I think this is going in a good direction there. I don't know what you're doing. What are you doing in the UK? What's going on in the UK? You've had a whole golden era though, like London in the 19th century. London in the 19th century was booming for the guitar. So anyway, so rhythms. All right, I think this will be quite a shift for you. I have discussed this in the past. Maybe you've seen some of my videos where I discussed this way of looking at rhythms. It's a similar concept again. When we read rhythms, we can go one of 2 ways. One way is we look at every single individual rhythm and we subdivide and we say, we say that this is, okay, this is 1E and so that's a 1 and and then this is 2E and 3E and 1E and 2E. Like, we can read it like that. It's one way to do it, but it can be, again, it can be slow, and it can be agonizing, and it can be, you can, again, reach a ceiling, reach a wall if you only read rhythm that way. I'm not saying that that's a bad way to read rhythm, just like I'm not saying, reading notes one at a time is bad. It's a necessary part of learning to read. We have to, that's how we start. But we have to think about the next level, the next, what comes next, what's next in the progression of how I should be reading. Just like when we read language, we have to think of what's next. After I learn the alphabet, what's the next step? So with rhythm, the next step is like it is in with pitch. It's to see music in groups. Okay, you have to see rhythms in groups. You have to try and start reading rhythms, seeing the groups of rhythms. Okay, and what I've got here is a chart. Take a screenshot if you want. But you can also grab my sight reading books or join CCG, and there's a sight reading course. Sight reading books are available to you. And this is something that I constantly come back to, this concept. What I've got here is a chart of what I call the most common rhythms in music that occur in music. And they're grouped together. They're grouped by categories of S, simple 1, simple 2, simple 3, and so on. And each one is given a word that's associated with the rhythm. So to kind of put this into application, I've put those rhythms by group at the top here. So all of the crotchets or the quarter notes are S3. We can call it ta. All of these rhythms here is S16. S16 is tum-ti. And then, so we've got 1, 2, and then we've got a third one, which is S4, which is this one, which is T-T. So we have ta, and we have tum-ti, and we have T-T. So now I can read this example like this. Ta, tum-ti-ta, ta, tum-ti-ta, ta. I'm just thinking of which of the three rhythms is it? Is it ta or tum-ti or T-T? Tum, ti, 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 ta, 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 and so on. So that immediately changes my whole way of operating when I'm reading rhythm. And I'm just astonished at some very complex sounding pieces. For example, there's a great piece by Andrew York, who I had the pleasure of interviewing recently. Andecy, one of his most well-known pieces. Right, it's a great groove. It sounds like quite a complex rhythm, and it looks like quite a complex rhythm. But when you simplify it, it's made up of that and that, tas and ts. Ta, t, 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 ta, t, 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 ta. It's just made up of two rhythms. When you simplify it, when you understand rhythm at this level, I don't mean it's a more complex level, it's just a different way of seeing rhythm. When you understand rhythm this way, suddenly some very complicated rhythms become very simple. And what you find is that in a given piece, there's usually like a handful of rhythms that are being used most of the time. It's usually less than a handful. So if I could actually fast forward through this a little bit here and show you, there is an example of this. Here we go. So this is the entire study. This is a source study, by the way, number 4, opus 60. Right, so this is the whole study here. And how many rhythms do you think there are? You know, at first glance, you probably think there are at least a handful of rhythms, but there are only 3 different rhythms used in this whole study, and I've color coded them there. So the blue ones are all crotchets or quarter notes, so ta. The green ones are the dotted rhythms there, so tum-ti, and then the red ones are the quavers, T-T. So for the whole study there, for the rhythm, you just have to think which of the 3 is it. and if you've spoken it and if you've practiced it already, which is what the chart is there for. It's actually there also to practice. You practice the rhythms, you practice playing them, you practice speaking them. So when you see them, you've already practiced them, right? It's like rhythmic vocabulary, you could say. And I've found that the rhythms I put in these charts, they cover probably 90% of the music that we play on the guitar. Maybe that's an over exaggeration. Maybe let's say 75 to 80%. At least 3/4 of the rhythms that we play in guitar music will use the rhythms in this chart. It's actually a fairly limited number of rhythms, less than you might expect. I mean, it's just like the musical alphabet only consists of 7 letters, right? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, plus the sharps and flats, but it's only 7 letters. So it's a very limited, like the English alphabet has 26 letters, right? So we can come up with so much beautiful music just from 7 letters and a bunch of rhythms. And when it comes to chords too, just with a bunch of chords, a bunch of rhythms, 7 notes, and you can come up with an astonishing diversity of music. So any questions so far? Let me know if you've got any questions there. So I hope that's kind of helped you. See, I didn't talk sight reading. It's important to do your reading practice. Yes, okay, you got to do your reading practice, but you got to have. I think it helps to have these frameworks that help you, they guide you, and they give you direction in like how to be looking at these. How to be looking at music, just like when we're reading. And like my kids, if I didn't teach them how to start grouping letters together, they would still be just stuck at this, like looking at the individual letters. And it can be a little bit tricky to make that transition from individual letters to seeing the words. It takes a bit of time, but if you can break through, and if you can get through that little trial that it does take, like, to be honest, it takes, you have to be a little uncomfortable, right? Because it can be quite comfortable to be reading notes one at a time, in a sense, right? It's slow, but it's comfortable. So you have to get out of your comfort zone. It's just sort of like memorization. When you memorize a piece, you have to get out of your comfort zone too. So these are some ways I think that you can, when you do your sight reading practice, these are some frameworks that can help guide you in your reading, how you look at music. Let me just go over that really quickly one more time. Rapid recall, you want to see notes rapidly, identify them. Motion, you want to see, is it moving by step, leap, or is it static? Intervals, you want to be able to count intervals rapidly. You say that's a 4th, that's a 5th, that's a 7th, rapidly as well. Then you want to mark in and know what position you're in at all times, and you want to know the fingerings, even if it's not written down, and the fingerings are usually determined by the positions. You want to know your references. Use your references to your advantage. If there's a note that you've played like a low F or a low G already previously in the piece, and you already worked out that that's a G, and here comes another one, use that past reference. Or if notes are moving by step next to each other, up or down, you can use them as references too. And that's just moving up the musical alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, or down. Then with rhythm, we want to start grouping rhythms and speaking and practicing the common rhythms of music and starting to identify them, how they occur, their frequency, how many rhythms actually occur in a piece. So that's my sight reading spiel there. And we have a comment from Herman. What helps me is reading first position Karuli studies in higher positions. That's a great idea. Yeah, for sure. Reading things in different positions is a very good way to get to know the fretboard. Definitely. Yep. See, reading is a very multi-layered activity, right? It's like we've got the fretboard, so that's one aspect. Then we've got music, and we've got rhythm, and we've got pitch, and we've got chords, and we've got structure. So all of these things are sort of like patterns in a sense. And the more familiar we get with these patterns, and the more we start to see larger groups, right? It's that kind of like that concept that our brain likes to do that, right? Our brain actually likes to make patterns out of things, even if they're seemingly unrelated. But in music, in the same piece of music, everything is related, right? Usually, so our brain actually likes that. It desires that. So if we're seeing everything fragmented, it actually is quite chaotic for us to read. And I see it. I see you see it. You hear it when someone's sight reading, and they're doing that. They're in that like note at a time, rhythm at a time process. So what I'd encourage you to do, if you need like a bit of a very, very practical takeaway from this, is before you start sight reading something, scan through it. Make sure you can instantly identify every single note. Try to scan through and identify what sort of motion is it. Are there any massive leaps? Because a massive leap will often result in a big shift. Are there notes that are the same, that are static? Are there notes that are moving by step? Try to identify, are there recurring intervals that you see, that you notice? Like very often you'll see thirds, this kind of, that kind of thing, right? Parallel thirds, up and down. Do you notice repeating groups of intervals? What positions are you going to be playing in, right? Scan through and just try to work it out. Maybe write some of them down if you want to do that, right? What positions are you playing in? Are there any references that are handy? And this can be across, like they don't have to be close to each other. These references can be far away. Like for example, if we go back to that source study, where is that? Where is that source study? This one. Let's see. Here's one G. There's no other G. Okay, there's the only G. That's rare. But let's see if we want to find. Well, the C, for example. Most people can identify C pretty quickly, but just as an example, there is another C there, and so that's in musical time. That's far away, but on the page, for our eyes, that we can make that close. It's like that's there. That's the same note, C and C. Where does the next C occur? Over here. There's the next one, reference, and I see one at the end there. Oh, there's one, another one, C, and there's another one, C. So it doesn't occur too many times, but if it's a note that you struggle with, let's say I struggle with reading that note, I will struggle no more. Once just that one time I identify it, and then I identify all other instances of it, and I make that connection in my mind, and it will no longer be a struggle to identify it. And the more we start seeing music that way, the faster we'll get at learning those notes that we're less comfortable with. So Herman wants me to do the last 6 Karuli studies. I will do them probably not today. Maybe tomorrow's Easter Sunday, so I'll be busy. So maybe on Monday. I'll try to do them on Monday. Okay, the last 6. Oh man, I have to practice them. They're not easy. Those last 6 Karuli studies. I'm glad you enjoyed them. Anyway, let's move on now to ear training. This is very, very, very related to what we've just spoke about with sight reading. Okay, so let's move on to that. Please let me know if you have any questions. In the meantime, especially while I'm going to change over to the ear training section here. Where is my ear training? Ear training should be right there. yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I hope this is helping in some way. And yeah, remember the practical application. Before you read something, just spend a few minutes, you know, going through and thinking about those things to do with pitch and rhythm. All right, so this is a great website here. You know what? I should put it in the chat for you. I'll go to the exercises. There are tutorials as well, which I'm sure would be very helpful too. But let me pop this link in the chat. I would highly suggest that you bookmark this link so it's easily accessible to you, easily accessible for you. This is a very, very handy resource. You could pay a lot of money for theory courses or theory classes or theory apps. I know, but this is free, and I think in terms of learning the basics, I think it's all here. Now, courses and classes can be good for guidance, because this doesn't necessarily guide you through a program, step-by-step program, but in terms of like just regular practice of identification, that kind of thing, it's very, very good. So we can start with I wanted to talk about rapid recall. Yeah, so we can start with reading here. We can go to music theory, we can go to reading, and we can do clef reading with a key signature or without a key signature. I suggest doing it with a key signature, because that's the context of music. Generally, we're reading music within a key, but there can be advantages to doing it without a key as well. But let's do it with a key signature. And guitar music uses treble clef. You can choose. This is the cool thing, right? If you struggle with ledger lines, which mean notes that are above and below the staff, you can select ledger lines, and it will only give you notes above and below the staff. Very, very cool. We can answer with using a note. We can, let's limit the key signature for accidentals, because guitar music rarely goes above that. Okay, so what we're going to do here, I'm going to press OK. This is our way to develop rapid recall, right? You should just be able to go B, E, A, C sharp. Yeah, did I get that right? And then we can go B, E, A, C sharp. Right, quick. You got the timer there too, so you can time. Let's see if we get the next one. 20 seconds. All right. C sharp, C sharp. Oh, I almost clicked the wrong one. I did click. That was not good. Let me try again. Okay, all right. Try quick. Okay, I need to look at the timer. I'm going to start when it's at 40. See how many seconds it takes me. Okay, go. All right. Oh man, that's okay. Oh, it's E flat because of the key signature. All right, I got one wrong, but it took 7 seconds. Okay, 4 notes in 7 seconds is kind of slow. I could, and I got one wrong. But you get what I mean here, right? So let's see. I'll do E, C sharp. I can say them faster than I can, click them. Okay. E, A, E, B, done. Right? It takes. I'm slower at. I probably could play them faster than find them this way. Right. I just go. Thought that's drop D, so that would have been on the 4th fret with drop D. And if you want to really challenge yourself, like Herman's suggestion would be good. Do it in the, do it in higher positions, right? So this is a great way for rapid recall, and rapid recall can exist in 2 forms. One is on the page, you can rapidly read the notes from the page and say B, C sharp, F sharp, and then rapidly put them onto the guitar. That's another step. They're separate but related steps, right? You need to be able to, obviously you need to know what the note is first, and then you need to know where those notes are on the guitar, right? So you can practice both. You could just practice saying the notes, right? Just saying the notes and identifying. Or you could practice just playing the notes, or you could do both. You could say them and play them. Okay, so that's that's one exercise I highly recommend if you want to get faster at your rapid recall. That's very handy for doing that. Another really handy one, I mean, there's lots of great stuff here. Intervals, here's a good one. Identification, you can choose what intervals. If you're just getting started, you might want to do what they've got here, or you might want to do way less, like just major and minor thirds, for example. So a minor third, major third. And that if you want to go more intense, more options, more complex, you could do everything. I just press that interval button there. You could try and identify everything, yeah? And then you can choose if it's ascending or descending. You can choose no accidental sharps and flats, any accidental. I will try this and let's see how I go. Okay, so there's F sharp to D flat, F sharp to D flat. That's a tricky one because here's the thing with intervals. You always have to count the notes distance first. So what I mean is this is F without regarding anything else. We're going from some kind of F to some kind of D, and that's a fixed aspect. We can't change that. So we go F, G, A, B, C, D. So it's a sixth, right? So it has to be some kind of sixth, even though you might be thinking, well, that sounds like a fifth, right? That sounds like a perfect fifth because it's the same as. If this was spelled as C sharp, it would be the same note, right? F sharp to C sharp would be a perfect fifth, but it's spelled as D flat. So what is this interval? That's a tricky one that we probably wouldn't find in a lot of music, but I think it's a diminished sixth, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, diminished sixth. So I knew it was a sixth because F to D is a sixth. And then F sharp to D would be a minor sixth. And I would think of the key of F sharp minor and that the scale of F sharp minor, and go, if I go to the sixth note, it's a minor sixth because I'm in a minor scale. And if I was in a major, I know that would be a D sharp. If I played F sharp, that would be major. It's a larger interval. It's a bit brighter. So it's major, that's minor, and so that was diminished. Anyway, I'm just talking through my thought process. What's this one here? You can play it. Oh, gee. C flat to E flat. C flat to E flat. C to E. So C to E has to be a third. C flat to E flat has to be a third. I guess it's a major third. Yeah. C flat to E flat. So there you go. And notice how I'm doing it on the guitar too, and I highly encourage you, have your guitar in hand, and anything you learn to do with theory, ear training, all these things like rapid recall, intervals, and what we're going to look at next, you can do this with guitar in hand, and it helps tremendously with your fretboard knowledge too. So we did reading, right? Clef reading, and we did intervals, identification. We could do scales, we could do key signatures. Yeah, you want to know those things. Another really useful one are triads, because triads are the basis of chords. So you go to triads and go to identification, and yeah, you can choose. There are only 4 types: major, minor, diminished, and augmented. You can choose if they're open or if they're not. I will choose open because I actually find them easier to play on the guitar because of the spacing, but you can do them not open. You can do them closed or open. Right, so I press OK, and here again, you can play this. So E sharp, C sharp, and A sharp. So to me, it sounds like minor, and I'll get you can get it to arpeggiate that too. E sharp to C sharp to A sharp. So do you know what that is? Maybe I'll let you answer that. And I know that YouTube has a slight delay here in the live stream, but I'll let you have a go. I'll wait here for a couple of minutes. What do you think that is? Oops. All right, if you've practiced triad shapes like in my book Fundamental Harmony, I know that shape. I actually know the shape already, so I already know what the triad is because of the chord shape. But theoretically, you want to work it out. For me, working it out theoretically is slower because I have to count. I have to figure out the notes and reorder the notes and all that stuff. But can you work out that triad there? Give it a go. Where are we here in the live stream? Yeah, figure that. Can you figure out that triad? I'm gonna wait here for a couple of minutes. Give it a shot. You've got 4 options of, actually you got more. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 option. No. So you got 4 options at the top. It's either major, minor, diminished, or augmented. Then you've got, is it a sus2 chord, a sus4 chord, or a flat 5 chord? And then you've got, is it root position, first inversion, or second inversion? Any takers? Anyone know what this triad is? It's pretty tricky. We don't see this triad, this key hardly ever. I don't know if I've ever played this key before. Oh, Herman's got it. A sharp minor. What about the inversion though? What about the inversion? So we got minor. So if it's A sharp minor, we can go, well, A sharp's the root, A. So C sharp is the third here, and E sharp's the third there. Let me start again. A sharp is the root, C sharp here is the third, and E sharp is the fifth. So we have the fifth in the bass. So if we have the first in the bass, it's root position. If we have the third in the bass, it's first inversion. If we have the fifth in the bass, it's second inversion. Let's see if anyone's got. Oh, here we go. We've got someone who changed their answer and went for the correct one. Martian Murray, very good, and Herman got it as well. Second inversion, A sharp minor, triad in second inversion. Very good. Give yourself a hand, and also great to play that on the guitar too. Yeah. So that's great. So you can go through. Here's another one. Oh man, what's that? Oh. Right. I think I know that one. It's tricky when they're in open spacing too. Can be trickier for some people to identify. But I'll let you practice this in your own time. I think we can have a lot of fun. There's a bit of a delay with YouTube. We do this in CCG quite often live on Zoom, and it's really fun to have a group and, go through and work out triads. We've got quizzes as well, so you can practice identifying triads, make sure your skills are up to scratch. So yeah, that is an augmented, and it's in root position. F augmented, right? F, A, C sharp. It's like F major, F, A, C, but the fifth, the C, has been raised upper half step, so it's F sharp augmented in root position. Okay, and then you can also do, if you want to get a bit more complicated than that, you can do seventh chords and you can do extended chords, and it's very much the same kind of thing. If we do extended chords, it's a crazy. I'm just jumped like in level by a drastic amount here. Like if we tried everything, how do you think you'd go with that? I don't know how I'd go with this, right? If we try everything, what have we got here, right? And can we try and play it as many of these notes as possible, right? Great, it's awesome. Like to play a chord like that can get you thinking out of the box, and it could even spur on some composition or improvisation. Like that's a chord that I'd like to explore a little bit. I know it's F augmented. So where are we going to be starting here? And then we've got a seventh sharp 5. So I think I got that wrong. Wow, really? Oh, it's probably a major 7 sharp 5. Yeah. Yeah, 7 would be a dominant 7 sharp 5. So that would be E flat. That would have been an E flat. So that's a major 7 sharp 5, pretty sure. The extensions are F to G is a 9. And F to B, oh my goodness. F to B, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B is a 11th. And I think is it a sharp 11? Yes. Okay. So it was a major. It was a major 9. Ah, major 9 because F. Oh, okay. Well, there we go. Let's try another one. Okay, so we got D, F, A's minor 7. So minor 7, and then we've got a 9 there. D minor 9. Yeah. Okay. So you can use this program. It's totally free. I put the link in the chat there. So feel free to use that. I'd recommend like bookmarking it on your, you can use it on your smartphone or tablet or computer or laptop, any device. You can check that out. So there we go. So that's a little bit of ear training, and the website does have we were looking at the identification sort of aspect on this side. Over here is ear training, where they play things for you, and you have to, by ear, you have to identify things there. So I highly recommend checking out that. All right, so we did sight reading, we've done some ear training. We've got one more topic, which is harmony. Thanks, Herman. Pleasure. So for harmony, I'd like to actually show you something. Harmony harmony is a very vast topic, right? But there are some foundations. There are some foundations of harmony that I think, for me, I would say, everyone who plays the guitar should know the foundations of harmony, I think. That means you understand, like if you look at most pieces of music that we play, you have the ability to understand them. Not just read the notes, but know what key you're in and what are the chords and what's the function of the chords, what are the passing notes. That's pretty much it. What keys, what are the chords, what are the passing tones, and have the ability to understand music that way. And I've broken this down into a few categories that it takes to understand virtually any tonal piece of music. So it's pretty nice, like that just from a few topics, about 5 topics, you can actually understand most pieces of music. So I've laid this out through my online school. Oh, here you go. Rick Beato did a video today on how he does things by ear. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, that's a similar thing, right? Probably there are like frameworks and processes that I'm sure he would use, and it's just a matter of practicing it as well, or practicing it repeatedly and consistently, just like sight reading. So let's have a look here at harmony. I want to give you some hope because the topic of harmony can seem so expansive and so unrelated to the guitar. The guitar is a harmonic instrument. Harmony should be a just normal aspect of learning the guitar, but unfortunately it's not, and that's just unfortunate. But there are ways to create a bridge, to create a link, and to see the power of harmony. Knowing harmony is very powerful, because all of the stuff we talked about becomes way easier if you understand harmony. You can sight read faster, you can identify chords much, like instantly. It's like What we're talking about was rapid recall, when you see notes and you rapidly identify notes. When you understand harmony, you start to do that on a larger scale. You start to see chords and rapidly identify chords and even progressions of chords. So you could see 4 or 8 bars, and in an instant you know what the progression is, because you know the chord progression, you've practiced it, and you can identify it and you understand it. So there's a program here in the Creative Classical Guitarist called Foundation Composing, and this is where all of the basics are addressed. So the first month, well, the first topic, the first section is an introduction to composition, and that ends with a quiz, and that's where you learn about the structure of music and how it basically teaches you why is it important to learn all this stuff, and how can you use it when you're crafting a composition. And the composition is very basic. It's probably not going to sound like the most beautiful piece you could write, but it's just about learning how to organize and structure music, because when you can do that yourself, then you start to understand why do we have all these systems like chords and scales and form and phrase structure and modulations. Like, why does it all exist? When you craft it into a composition, even at a very basic level, it makes sense. There is a quiz as well. Oh, look at that. How do I get to my next? I have to complete the quiz, I think. Do I have to complete the quiz to get to the next? I probably do. Did I pass my quiz? Let's see. I failed it. I think this was on purpose. Let's go through this quiz quickly together. See what your knowledge of composition, basic knowledge of composition is like. Here, I'll give you the answers. All right. What are some commonly held beliefs that stop people from composing? Composition is a random act. You can only compose something when you're in the zone. That's the answer. So this is one of the quizzes that's on CCG. What are some common struggles that people have when they start composing? Which one is it? It's this one. Don't know how to start, not enough time, don't know harmony, can't string ideas together into a whole. These are all like word for word from the workshop and the notes. What is the 4-step process for composing that CCG teaches? Plan, write a melody, add harmony, edit and refine. What form is this piece in? Now, this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. Rapid recall of form. This form, there's only really 2 forms that are very commonly used in guitar pieces: rounded binary form and ternary form. So when you have that knowledge, you start to see guitar pieces completely different. You start to look for those sections. So this actually has 2 sections, and it repeats the A section again. So ABA, which is ternary form. This one has 2 sections, but a part of the A section comes back at the end of the B section. That's called rounded binary form. This piece just has 2 sections with no other repeats. Each section is just repeated. It's called binary form. Okay, what is a period phrase structure? Very, very important to know this. A period is one of the most common phrase structures that occurs in every style of Western music. So what it is a question and answer made of 4 + 4 or 8 + 8 bars. That's what a period is. The most common phrase structure in Western music. A parallel period is this one when the start of the question and answer mirror each other. Usually the first 2 bars of the answer will copy the first 2 bars of the question. What are the 2 most common key changes? You might know this already. The 2 most common are the relative major and minor and the parallel major and minor. Lagrima is one example. We're in the major for the A section, and then in the B section we're in the parallel minor. Adelita does it in the minor for the A, and then in the B section parallel major. Spanish Romance does it, right? Minor, E minor, and then in the B section the parallel major. So that's the answer there. I think that's the last question. Let's see if I got 100%. Hopefully, yes. Okay, 100%. There we go. So that's the quiz. So now I can go on to the next topic. which is, or the next topic is triads here. So let me go back to this. All right, so this is the next topic, triads. So here are the topics that I think, if you understand triads, if you understand seventh chords, which is section 3, if you understand chord substitutions, and if you understand modulation, that's it. You just from 4 topics, you understand the entire language of music for like tonal music. There will be some styles that will fall outside of this, like atonal music, and some modern styles. Some pieces by Leo Brouwer maybe will fall slightly outside of these things, but a lot of them still fall into it. But you know, all the pieces that you probably play and love by Bach, even the Renaissance pieces, Fernando Sor, Mertz, Tárrega, Barrios, Tedesco, Villalobos, all the Latin American pieces that you know and love, they all use this same theory, these 4 topics. So we start with triads here. And so what this is all about is making these 4 topics applicable to the guitar and practical. So every single lesson, there's a video, but there's also a practical study that you can play on the guitar to understand the concept. I think it's so important. The thing that's often missing about learning harmony is playing harmony on the guitar. It's just a funny thing that harmony is just this thing we do on paper in our head, but we play a harmonic instrument. We don't use the guitar to help us learn harmony, but we can learn the guitar. So we can use the guitar to help us learn harmony. It just baffles me why we don't do it. So there's a little exercise here. You can play all of the triads with one quick exercise, and you can shift it around. So you can do your augmented, and then your major. It's this bar here, or major, and then your minor, and then your diminished. And then you can shift that up. So C sharp diminished, and then C major, and C minor, and C diminished. So you can shift that up. So in a very short amount of time, you can learn the 4 triads. Remember, when we were doing the triad identification, there are only 4 types of triads: augmented, major, minor, and diminished. So you can learn them very quickly through this pattern, repeat it up the fretboard. That's a great way to start. But there's a lot more information in the video and in the slides as well. And then we start to do movable triads here. So now this is where you take a triad shape. It's kind of like the caged system for learning chords. You take a triad shape. For example, this is G major, G, B, D. Right, it shows you the root note. It shows you the shape with a chord with a chart at the top. You shift it up a fret, and you get A flat major or G sharp major. Right, the same pattern with the left hand, and we just keep shifting that up, and we're getting a different triad with different notes, but it's the same quality. It's always a major in root position there. And this is an excellent way to learn the fretboard as well, because you have to start thinking of these notes. And this is a good way of learning the fretboard, because it's not random. You're not just randomly picking out notes. I've seen this method quite often, where you just randomly pick out notes, and like that's how you learn the fretboard. It doesn't really work like that in actual music, right? In pieces of music, we're usually using putting the fretboard into patterns, like chord patterns and chord shapes, right? So if you can identify chord shapes at higher positions, your knowledge of the fretboard just shoots up. So we do movable triads there. Then we do manipulating triads. How are these triads rearranged and reorganized in actual music? And so there's a little exercise here that shows you some different ways. You can arpeggiate them, you can do some imitation, you can do some call and response. This is great for composition too. Chords can flow into each other, they can sequence, they can have inversions, they can have variations, they can be chordal. So there's all these ways of manipulating triads, and you see them in pieces of music all the time. And then the final topic passing tones. So how do passing tones work? You find out there are just two main types of passing tones, and you can play them. So this is an example without passing tones, and then the same example with passing tones, right? And then we've got a few more examples there, and the task is to add the passing tones into the music yourself. And if you can do that, so this is the power of composition. If you can use what you've learned about harmony in a composition, it proves that you know it. Okay, so if you're able to use a passing tone, you know what passing tones are. There's no doubt about it. So we can learn about passing tones. We can learn about triads of the key. This one is a bit more theoretical, where you just start to write out the triads of each key and label them and name them. And then there's a task, harmonize Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. So we've had many wonderful submissions, but this is one of them by David Reynolds. So he harmonized Twinkle Twinkle Little Star using triads, and with passing tones. So yeah, beautiful example that you can just play immediately and get a grasp of how you can also harmonize Twinkle Twinkle Little Star just with triads. There is a template that's given to you to help as well. You can see there's a template there you can use to help you, but you can also use a bit more of your own imagination if you want to, like David has done here. Then there's a quiz. Some of the questions, I updated the quiz, yeah. Some of the questions will be, how do you create a triad, 3 notes stacked in thirds, write the formula for an augmented triad, spell one starting on D, what is the mood and frequency of this triad. These are all the things that you learn in the videos and in the tasks and in the instructional materials that you get. So, and that actually saves your progress there with the quiz. So what I've done here in the Creative Classical Guitarist is basically developed a system for you to learn harmony through just 4 topics. Everything is made practical. You can play every single example. There's nothing that you'll see that you can't play on the guitar. It's the best way to learn harmony. So that is one part of the Creative Classical Guitarist called Foundation Composing. And there's lots of courses, lots of material, and that might seem daunting and overwhelming, but so a solution for that is I've put things into what are called pathways. So if you take the composing pathway, it will narrow down everything for you and group it together into a pathway, progressive pathway for you to follow, starting with composing for beginners. So this is a course that you complete. It's just got 1 video and materials and tasks there. So composing for beginners. Then we do another composition course here, compose a piece in 1 week, gets a bit more advanced. Then we do foundations, which is what you just saw, foundation composing. And then we do an intermediate course, which introduces more advanced topics. And then the most advanced course here, which is composing a prelude in the style of Bach, arranging a song in the style of Takemitsu, composing an ensemble piece, so that you get like much larger kind of tasks, and they usually span over 3 months if you want to take 3 months to complete a large composition like that. So that's an example of a pathway, and when you finish that pathway you get a badge. You also get a certificate as well. So we've had a few people that have completed this pathway. Well, quite a number of people have completed it But yeah, formally, you know, I've issued a few certificates and a few badges to people. It's quite a long, you know, there's a lot of material there. If you're more interested in performing, there's a performing pathway. You get your routines, exercises, studies, and pieces. You get a practice journal, so you got to complete that. And by the way, this is all locked, like it's all sequential. So, you know, once you complete it, you say mark as complete, and then you'll be able to go to the next topic. So there's routines there. Then there's a course on practicing, supercharge your practice. So I'll just open that up here. And so there are 12 methods. Each one has a video and some instructional material, some tasks for you, some examples of how others applied the tasks, and some videos of how others applied the material as well. So that's there. We get all 12 practice methods. So that's the performing pathway. And then learn a piece in 4 steps is another course you can take. So I'll just open that up for you. Just have a quick look. So stage 1, preparation. You can see how it's locked up here. Stage 2, consolidation. So some practice methods to apply. Stage 2, consolidation of interpretation is there. And then run through, upload a practice recording, memorization, performance. These are the steps that I think it takes to learn a piece to a very high standard, which I know a lot of people want to do. I don't think a lot of people understand what it really takes to learn a piece to a high standard, right? This is a very thorough process, but I think this is a framework you can use it right now. You don't have to go through this course to use the process. I can show you what this is the process here, right? Preparation. So you want to map the fingerings and position, study the piece, listen to the piece, group the rhythms like we spoke about earlier. Consolidation, apply practice methods to it. Think about your interpretation, map out your interpretation, run through the piece, start to record yourself, identify the weak spots. Stage 3 is memorization, and stage 4 is performance. So just remember that: preparation, consolidation, memorization, performance. You want to try and take about a month for each step. That's about 4 months to learn a piece. I'd say that's a minimum amount of time to learn a piece very, 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 very high level. You're playing at your absolute best. It's memorized, it's polished, the interpretation's all worked out and beautiful, it's expressive, you understand the piece, you understand the music, you can play it with a metronome, the rhythm's great, you've performed it several times. That's what it takes. And speaking of performances, we do have, so in addition to pathways, we also have a practice room as well. So this is where members upload their recordings of practicing, their practice recordings here. So members can do that, and we've got a wonderful array of examples here. So you can use this is one opportunity to practice your performance, to practice run-throughs. We also have virtual recitals. So there's one coming up in about a month, April 27th. We have a virtual recital. So this is where members submit videos and I string them together into a virtual recital. It's a really lovely way to feature different members of CCG. And many times they're often playing their own compositions or arrangements. So it's really special, you know, and then, yeah. So we have virtual recitals. We've got lots of events. We've got foundations events. We have master classes twice a week. We have advanced composition sessions twice a week, and we've got a method book walkthrough where we're going through a method book step by step and really piecing it together and, you know, playing the examples together. So it's more of a sort of basic beginner level session there. We have open mics run by member Trisha. So it is really like an online school. I like to say CCG is like a music school in your pocket, right? There's all of the, I would say, all of the aspects of a school education, having a community, having live events, having an instructor, having courses and classes and materials and it's all access, under the access of your fingertips. It's all progressive. So everything's tracked, all your progress is tracked as well. You can see like what you still need to complete. It'll take you where you left off. If you watch a video and you stop it halfway, it tracks your, what you've watched, and it'll leave you it'll start you where you left off. So we've got a space for asking questions. If you have questions about technique or composing, arranging, improvising, theory, and then there's a whole bunch of other resources as well. Checklists and essential tools. We've got like here, there's MuseScore and a timer, the metronome, music dictionary. There's the theory, Teoria, with the link I have put in the chat. Ear training website by Sam Griffin there. Some equipment you can get if you want to record yourself. So plenty of resources. If you like to just browse around, there's plenty of resources, lots of scores. If I go here, scores and books, you can get all of my ebooks. You can get essential books here. You can do some sight reading, lots of sight reading material. So all of the workshop recordings are here. There are hundreds of workshop recordings that are arranged in playlists here. But probably the easiest, the best way to do things is to just choose a pathway. What do you want to specialize in? What's the thing you want to, for a lot of people, it might be performing. You want to take your playing to a new level. I think the materials in here are, if you follow these, and there are members that have done this, you just see the absolutely staggering transformation. They'll say, I think I've got it in the preface here. This is Kevin. Let me play this video here for you.
Rather than performing and feeling like a bag of nerves, I'm performing and actually rather enjoying it now.
Yeah.
And for me, that's a leap I never thought would occur.
Right, so Kevin's saying there that rather than feeling like a bag of nerves, he's actually enjoying performance, and he never thought he would feel that way. So this is an example of someone who was attending the master classes and getting up and being bold and playing regularly in front of people and following the processes and the tasks that CCG offers. And then this is a comment by Trisha, who had a very wonderful performance at a guitar festival in the UK. And she said, "I'm pleased, relieved and proud to say that my performance went well in yesterday's concert, but why? I've performed a few times in my many years of playing guitar, but rarely have I felt satisfied with how I played. Yet finally I felt confident that I played well, and quite honestly it's all down to CCG. Finally, I don't crumble in a heap of nerves and am dissatisfied with my playing. Understanding the form and harmony, having goals and a golden routine, learning to focus, knowing how to improve and play well by memory, learning skills to develop technique, and a myriad of other points have all taught me so much. Playing in the CCG masterclasses and open mics have really helped too. And last but definitely not least, the amazing guidance, thank you Trisha, and support and encouragement from everyone else on CCG." So there we go. We have a couple of examples there. I think they speak for themselves really. So if you follow this pathway, your performance will become very, very, you'll find the best of your ability, I believe, if you follow this pathway. Same with composing. If you want to take your composing seriously and learn the craft and the tools that great composers of the past used, and you want tasks to follow, and it's progressive and it pushes you into new directions, and you learn how to modulate to any key you want, and you learn how to apply negative harmony or inversion or whatever, like things like that. We cover a whole range of tools, ranging from very, very simple to very advanced, and everything in between. We've got other pathways as well: improvisation, arranging, harmony, technique. I'd say that probably the top three here are the most attended, or the ones with the most members, I think: performing, sight reading, and composing. So yeah, that's the creative classical guitarist. Oh, we're stuck on the quiz still, huh? I didn't notice that. I've been showing things. Sorry about that. How can I reset this here? That was just my screen sharing. Somehow it got stuck on, let me find this. Is it this one? No. Hang on a sec. I think there's been a little glitch. Sorry about that. I've been speaking all this time and you haven't seen what I've been showing. Sorry about that. Let me see if I can fix this up here. I think I have to delete this here. Just a bit of tech issues here. I've been streaming for a little while, so sometimes after a while, technology can't always handle things. So yeah, see, encoding overload. I've got an encoding overload now. It's been a long session. Thanks for sticking around. Really appreciate it. Let me see how I can. Here we go. If I reset this, I'm using OBS, by the way, which is a great program. I mean, a lot of programs can crash if you're using them for this long. So basically, I'm resetting this here. I'm going to go to. Now you can see everything I'm doing now. Okay, here we go. Let's get I think that's it there. There we go. It's just covering my face a bit, so I'm just going to reset. There we go. All right. Oh, we're back. Thanks for sticking around. Sorry about that. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions as well while I'm kind of sorting myself out here. So now you should be able to see that. Make sure it's moving. I should always be monitoring myself, huh? Okay, so I was talking about pathways and you weren't seeing anything. I was talking about all these things. Let's go back. Yeah, so pathways, I was talking about the performing pathway. So this is the performing pathway here. We have routines. We have a practice course that goes through 12 methods. We have a learning a piece course, which is what I think it really takes to learn a piece. So I'll show you this here. So you've got a practice course here where you have, I'll just click on one of them. You've got a video that you can watch. You've got your instructional materials here that just describes the process. You've got tasks. You've got how other members applied it themselves, and a video of how someone has applied it as well. Very, very cool program, very cool course there under the performing pathway. Practice course, learn a piece in 4 steps. So I mentioned there's a framework you can use. Let me show you that framework. That is this one: preparation, consolidation, memorization, and performance. If there's anything you take away from today, I've introduced a lot of information that I've given you. So try to remember this pathway and try to remember the time frame. Okay, try to remember the time frame. Preparation, 1 month. Take your time. Take your time. Listen and study to the piece. Study the piece and listen to the piece. What form is it in? What are the keys? Phrase structure? What's the harmony? What's the shape of the melody? Can you identify the melody? For example, map the fingerings and positions. We talked about that earlier. Can you group the rhythms? Please try to group the rhythms. Please use a metronome. The number of times I have to remind students to use a metronome. One thing you can do, what I do myself, is when you see in the warm-up videos, I put my metronome and timer on first and then I practice. So give that a go. Consolidation is next, right? consolidation. So applying the practice methods, get those passages sparkling. Think about your interpretation, start to run through. Then memorization, another month. Spend a month memorizing. Maybe it's not one piece, maybe you've got a little program, right? A few pieces, you could do this. And then performance. Spend a month trying to perform the piece multiple times. Your first performance will probably not go very well, and you just have to accept that. Your first time of anything usually doesn't go so well. So just accept that. Just be happy that you've been through the first performance. I think if you go through this process though, your first performance is probably going to be better than normal. But you want to try to perform a piece multiple times. So that's the learn a piece in 4 steps there. So that's the third part. And then we've got these ongoing parts of the performing pathway. Master classes speak for themselves. You come along and play and get some feedback and hear others play. So they're weekly. The practice room, you're instructed to upload videos of the same piece each month 3 to 4 times. So you try to record one piece 3 to 4 times over the course of a month. And then we have open mics as well. So that's the performing pathway. And then we've got the composing pathway. So if you want to take your composition much more seriously, or if you want to learn new skills, or if you want to start, maybe you haven't even started before, this does give you a complete introduction, composing for beginners. It's a very, very basic template. I'll just show you what it's just like. One workshop to watch, and then you've got this framework here to fill out, and it basically it shows you the absolute basics of how to structure music to create a composition. And it might not be the most beautiful sounding piece, but it's that's not what it's about. It's about learning the craft of composition. So that's the composing pathway, starting with beginners. Then we go on to the next one, level 2, compose a piece in 1 week. This is a bit more advanced. It's based on Adalita, and so you compose a mazurka, and now it's a piece that's starting to sound a bit more beautiful. You'll probably be a bit more pleased with the piece that you write from that. Then we start to look at foundations. Now this will include some of the things you've learned from levels 1 and 2. So this is just to get you started at composing. Then you start to go deeper and learn about the theory, at a deeper level. It gives you more options, and then the final task is to compose an allemande in the style of Bach, and we've got dozens of them now. They're just beautiful allemandes in the style of Bach. And then we have an intermediate course, and then finally the most advanced one. And this is where we're going to compose a prelude in the style of Bach, arrange a popular song in the style of Takemitsu, and more tasks like that. A valse in the style of Barrios. Very, very, very much larger tasks there. So it's progressive, step by step. Everything's tracked. Videos are tracked. Where you're at in each course is tracked. You receive a certificate for completing these. I did mention the practice room as well. So we have members who upload their recordings into the practice room here. So we have quite a number of recordings here, which is wonderful. And we have a virtual recital. This is our notice board. So this is for the month of March, which is about to end. So we have a virtual recital on the 27th of April. This is the technical work focus for the month. This is the focus piece for the month. And then, what to try and do in the practice room, which is the same every month. What we're focusing on in foundations, what we're focusing on in the advanced sessions, what we're focusing on with our master classes, and with our method book walkthroughs. So that's the notice board there. Just to once you're plugged in and you know what pathway you're doing, you just follow that. And we have events as well. That's the events calendar. This shows you at a glance the calendar there. So we have events. It really is, I think, like a music school in your pocket. So yeah, there's the creative classical guitarist. What equipment do you need to upload? Yeah, I've got a question here. What equipment do you need to upload your videos to your platform? Well, that depends. You can upload with any equipment. So even just with just a phone, smartphone or tablet, that's all you need. It comes with an app, by the way, and let me show you on the tablet what the app looks like, because this is a larger screen than a phone. So I'm just going to tap on the app and it'll open it up here. So let me go to a larger screen. So show the apps on. All right. So this is what it looks like. This is the feed. It's weird if I put this in front of my face. Yeah. So this is the feed. This is where all of your updates come in to whatever programs, pathways you've joined. It will all update onto the feed here. I know it's blurry, so because of the focus. I do have to put it in front of my face. I don't have an option. Sorry. But this is the app. It's a bit weird for me to do this because it's like mirror. Let me go to the menu here. So the menu there on the app basically looks exactly the same as the website. So there's the menu. You can see the start here, choose your pathway, listen to member pieces. There's a notice board, the event schedule. We have a chat. We have a practice room there, workshop recordings, scores and books where you can find all the scores and books. So yeah, the menu is really the place to find everything. One really cool thing too, I should mention, is there's a search bar. So I press the search bar here, right? So I'm in the search now. If I search for tremolo, let's say, I know lots of people like to learn tremolo, or they like to improve their tremolo. They've got the desire to improve their tremolo. I just typed in tremolo and literally maybe hundreds of things will pop up. So we have tremolo exercises ebook. We've got a tremolo workshop. We've got pieces that include tremolo in a fugue, more workshops, focus piece etude in E minor with tremolo. Sorry, it's getting a bit blurry because of the camera. Right. So any comment, anything that mentions the word tremolo, any materials that include tremolo, will be found with the search button. Very, very powerful function because it helps filter things down to what you're looking for. So that's the creative classical guitarist. And yeah, so in terms of equipment, you can literally just use your phone and upload it through what we do is upload it to YouTube, upload your videos to YouTube, and then you just get into the app and share the link. So that's how people that's how the members do it. So you upload to YouTube and then just add the link into get into the app. So it's pretty streamlined if you do it that way. If you do it a more advanced way, like how I do with an external camera and mic, it's a whole different process. But for actually recording, I've got an interface like this. The mics go in there, and this goes to the computer. And for my live streams, I just use this. This is just like a USB microphone, and I've got two external cameras and a green screen behind me. So it's a bit of a set of lights. It's a bit of a kind of like mini studio setup that I've got. So yeah, do I teach MuseScore? For sure. We've got a course on MuseScore actually. That's one of the basics. I mean, it's super important to know MuseScore. Let's see if we're still on here. So if we go to start here or navigation, this helps you to get plugged in, and then down the bottom there, using MuseScore is there. That's also in Foundation Composing, Introduction to MuseScore. So there's a video there with like the shortcuts and stuff, and just how to get started. We also have you can ask questions anytime, and people do very often ask questions about MuseScore. How do I do this? What's the shortcut for that? Where do I find this? And members will help each other. It's really great. We even have members calling each other on Zoom to help one another with things like that on MuseScore, because sometimes things can be quite complicated if you're trying to do a really specific thing. So yeah, so we do cover MuseScore for sure. I think it's a free app. It's a free notation app, and I mean, it's pretty great to be free. There are other apps as well, but I do recommend that one because it's free. And there is another app called Flat, which is actually an app that goes onto your phone or tablet. MuseScore can't do that. So if you want to compose on your phone and tablet with a more basic function, then Flat can do that. That's another one that I recommend. But for most people, I try to recommend MuseScore because it's got all the functions you need and it's free. So any other? Let me know if you've got any questions there. And in the meantime, I want to say just Happy Easter to everyone as well. Happy Easter. So special time of the year for me. I mean, I'm a Christian, and I do believe that Jesus died and rose again for our sins. There's a famous Bible verse you might have heard: "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, so that none should perish but have everlasting life." And I mean, I believe that. I've made the decision to have Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. So that's what I'd say a Christian is, and so Easter's a special time for me and my family and my fellow believers, and maybe you're a Christian as well, to just reflect on that event that happened so many years ago, like 2,000 years ago. John 3:16, Scott, there you go. So it's a special time, and so I just want to wish you a happy Easter. I hope you have nice time with your family, and maybe a bit of rest. It's a very busy world today. I hope you find some peace and joy in this weekend especially. And if you have any questions about about Christianity or the Bible or Jesus, just I'm always open for that too. So but yeah, just want to wish you a happy Easter. And we do have an Easter special. We have an Easter special here. I'm going to show you. If you'd like to join this community, the Creative Classical Guitarist, this school that I've created. Just pop this up here. Where are we? I'd like to invite you to join, and there are free trials. So you get a 7-day free trial to join on any plan. There's a couple of plans, but I've been through so many things now, I can't find my the link that I had prepared. I had a link prepared earlier. I'll find it this way. So we have we have a monthly plan, and I'm opening up a yearly plan as well, just for this Easter, with a special offer. So here, and you can sign up for the mailing list. You get a free ebook and many other resources. We have a free composition challenge, so I invite you to try that if you like. Please check out Andrew York's the podcast I did with Andrew York. I think very very interesting and enlightening, wisdom really from someone who's been doing it for decades now. So I invite you to check that out, and check out the page here. There's a lot of information about CCG, like what's coming next in May. Because at the moment we're kind of in the middle of certain subjects and things like that. Although you can do things at your own pace as well. Some of the things that are involved here. And yeah, so we're doing a yearly special. So all the stuff you saw, the courses and events and everything, practice room and virtual recitals. It's really like an online school, like a full school. So we're doing a yearly special for Easter, which will end at Easter at the end of Sunday for 500 USD. So this gives you access to everything you saw, all the events, the ebooks, the materials, the courses, everything is open. Plus, you get a one-on-one lesson with me, a customized routine ebook. So I will ask you what sort of things you want to learn, what are your goals, and create an ebook for you that's personalized to you. I think it's very, very helpful to do that. I do that with every single student. It's very important you just print it out, put it on your music stand, and that's your routine is set. And then we're going to have a monthly mastermind for Q&A if you want to just ask questions in a Zoom chat, a bit more personal than YouTube. And we have career development as well. So we'll talk about things like how to promote yourself and your music, and how to create a bit more income, and how to create landing pages like what you're seeing here, and offers, and all these things that I've learned over the years of this. This is what I do. I've learned. I've got my own business, so I've learned some things along the way, and I'd like to help other musicians with that too. And the next podcast I'll be putting out soon is along those lines. So there's a 7-day free trial. You don't actually pay until the trial's over. And you can cancel anytime. So I invite you to please come along and join. If the yearly plan is not for you, if you want to go monthly, you can do monthly for $75 a month. So yeah, 12 times 75 is whatever, 750. I can't calculate that at the moment. But the typical yearly plan is $750, which is like 10 months of CCG. So this is a discount just for the next couple of days. But you can do a monthly membership, and also with a 7-day free trial. And same thing, you don't pay until 7 days have elapsed, and you can cancel anytime. You can change plans as well if you want to go on for a couple months and want to do a yearly plan. You can do that too. So yeah, that's the Creative Classical Guitarist. And yeah, please, I invite you to check out the site. Let me put the site in the chat here of YouTube's. So here is the site. There is also a blog. You can check out the blog. I've got lots of topics, Arenas method. There's the musical video, a masterclass. It's just like little fragments. You'll see a lot of work featured by members, and this is something I think that really shines about CCG is the members. It's not about the instructors, right? It's not about me. I obviously have to run things and put things together, but it's really a place for the members to shine, and the members to learn, and the members to be in it together. And that's where we have recitals. I play their music. I played their music on radio. I played their music in concert. The members of CCG, because they've written some beautiful music, and maybe you're a composer and you're looking for that sort of community, or you want to give it a go, because maybe playing virtuosic guitar pieces is not for you. Doesn't have to be for every guitar player. Composing can be very, very fulfilling. So we've got arrangements, Yeah, so check out the blog as well. You can listen to some pieces here by composed by CCG members. We've got courses. If you want to just take a single course, you can do that. I will say it's much more cost effective to be a member than to do a course, but if you prefer that, you can. We've got ebooks as well. I actually published my son Julian. He's 5. He wanted to write a book. He hand drew a book, and so I thought, hey, I've learned some skills, using a program called Canva. Why don't we try and bring your book to life? And we did that, and it's pretty entertaining. We've got Weatherman is drinking a mango smoothie, in the rock against weather. So that's our latest publication. You can get that for $1 if you want. But yeah, on a more serious note, I guess we've got ebooks on all sorts of topics. They're all on sale, by the way, at the moment. Tremolo, musical career, sight reading, fundamental harmony. If you join CCG, though, again, it's more cost effective because you get everything if you join CCG. But if you're more interested in just picking and choosing, you can do that. We've got scores published, scores of CCG member pieces here. So yeah, so please check out the site. Some information about the events on CCG as well. That's about it. That's a wrap, I reckon. Unless I have any questions. I don't see any more questions here in the chat. Well, thanks so much for joining. This has been a pretty epic session. We've talked about a lot. You might want to rewatch this video. That's fine. You can do that using the same link. Just check out my YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe to the channel. I do upload and I do go live very often, so you'll get notified about that. Please do me a favor and share with any other guitarists as well. I'd really appreciate that if you know any other guitarists who might benefit from this kind of information. So yeah, but I think that's it. I'll try to check in again with you on Monday with Carcassi part 2. And yeah, in the meantime, hope you have a blessed Easter, and thanks so much for watching today. It's been a blast. I'll see you next time.